Why, hello there. Welcome back, dear friends, to the Comic Bonfire. Today's topic will be about world building and how to steal from it. Yes, you heard me. You're going to be stealing worlds to make your own, just snatching them away without a second thought. So now, listen well as I delve into the world of stealing worlds. Now, why would you steal worlds from other stories, you ask? Simple. You're either lazy, couldn't be bothered to, or just smart. Or maybe you just want to make telling your story easy. Whatever the reason, I shall enlighten you on one fact, and that is that world stealing is better than world building. So let's begin. The reason world stealing is better than world building is because it's the same thing, yet takes less time and is more efficient. You see, no matter how much someone tries, nothing they do will ever be original. Humans have been alive for hundreds of thousands of years, and you think your idea is going to be anything new? It can be, but the chances of that are like finding a needle in a haystack. And don't worry, even the people who you think made an original world, they didn't. And the reason they seem to have made an original world is very simple. It's great world building. No, the real reason is world stealing. No, it's actually both of them. You know why? Because they are the same thing. World building is world stealing, and world stealing is world building. World building is just more pretty to say, but I like to call it as it is, and that is world stealing. You see, when a writer or storyteller builds a world, it literally means they put different parts of the world, like building blocks, to build the world. Now, where do these parts come from? Where do these individual bricks that build this tower or this world come from? Simple. They are stolen consciously and unconsciously. Let's say, for example, someone is creating a fantasy world. Automatically, so many things pop up in your head that are expected of a fantasy world. For example, if the world has monsters, whichever way they look or act, it still isn't original. Why? Because if you look up the definition of monster, it says a large, ugly, and frightening imaginary creature. Now, first of all, the definition is so broad that it can encapsulate many things. Second, is the person who made the definition the original owner of the idea? No, they aren't. There was probably someone who made the idea and told people. So are they the original maker? No, because there was probably someone who thought of the idea and never told anyone. So are they the original? No, because they aren't the only ones with ideas in their heads. So who knows who thought of it first? What I'm saying is that no matter what you do, an idea is never original. Because if somebody has probably written it already, you don't know. How could you? You can't possibly have read all the books in the real world. And let's say you have. You can't possibly be the first person to have thought of it. I mean, how could you know? You can't read minds. So when I say world stealing, I am simply calling world building what it is, and that is stealing parts and making something out of it. So now that we've got that tangent out of the way, let's get into why you're here, which is world stealing. How does one world steal? Simple. It all comes down to three things that you have to do: tone, genre, and history. You see, it's the combination of these three things that makes a world complete and ready for your stories. Let's use an example so I can better explain each in detail. For example, let's take Attack on Titan's world into consideration. Let's start with the tone. The tone for Attack on Titan is quite grim and brutal. And as a writer, when you think grim and brutal in a world, you automatically can set some rules and common occurrences in the world, like death, despair, mature themes, and more. The tone of the story means how the story makes the reader feel. And when we look at the world of Attack on Titan, we see that the tone is handled beautifully, because the reader is constantly on the edge thinking if their favorite character will die or not, and or if your character will achieve their goal. But remember, the most important thing about tone is its delivery, because if you promise the reader death and you don't deliver on it, the world loses credibility. And when that happens, your world becomes boring and uninteresting. So always choose your tone carefully. Now we come to Attack on Titan's genre, which in my opinion is a political seinen drama. So what does one expect from the political genre? You expect deception, smart characters, ideological battles, and so on. What do you expect from a seinen? You expect it to be brutal, mature, and have gore. Just like this, these are all things to be expected since they are simple building blocks for the world. And though they didn't originally belong to the world, they were used to make a world after being mixed with other building blocks. So in their unoriginality, they create a brand new world which is the vision of the writer. And now lastly comes the history. You see, the hardest thing most writers face when creating a new world is its history and what events have led to make the world what it is, and how to make these things tie into the story and make the world more believable. Well, the solution is simple, and I might be repeating myself at this point, but it is just one thing: steal. To be more specific, steal from the real world. Humans have a total of 5,000 years of recorded history. That's 5,000 years of worth of history and content you can use to make your world. Hell, that's just 1% of human history. And look at Attack on Titan. The way it uses real world history to make a believable and amazing world. I mean, it literally pulls from the First and Second World Wars and uses it in the context of the genre and tone of its story. In the story, it portrays these historical events as its own. It's more believable since we can relate to these events because they happened in our world, and so we feel a deeper connection to it. But remember that for a world to be believable, these three, meaning tone, genre, and history, have to work in unity. If these things don't work in harmony, then the world falls down like a tower of Jenga, since the pieces weren't placed properly. But the part of balance comes down to the writer, since a good writer can make anything work together. A good writer could make The Plague into a rom-com. And now finally I shall demonstrate with some examples on how you can combine these three things, meaning tone, genre, and history, and balance them together with your writing capabilities. For example, world number 1. The tone of the world is comedy, yet the genre is political, meaning the history of the world is exactly the same, yet we look at the politics of the world through a lens of comedy, a lens of slice of life. And the story is going to be about how world leaders go about their daily lives and how they try to one-up each other. But instead of a serious tone, it's going to be a slice of life tone where it's more comedy oriented. World number 2. The tone is dark, the genre is sci-fi, and the historical event we're going to steal is the French Revolution. Now, I thought of the first historical event that came to mind, and that was the French Revolution. Now, how am I going to give it a twist of my own? Well, I made the genre sci-fi. Now, what will be the thing that balances out and connects the genre and history together? Well, it's going to be the tone. The tone is going to be dark. We're going to have a dark sci-fi in a dark time, which was the French Revolution. The tone here is a connecting part between the two things, which is the genre and the history. Now we come to world number 3. The tone of the world is action, and the genre is historical. Now the history is somewhat of a mixture of what happens in the world. You see, mankind is given guidance by God to build towers, to reach the heavens, and whichever kingdom does so will be the people to enter heaven. So insert the pyramids, the Tower of Babylon, the Great Wall of China, the Leaning Tower of Pisa, the Eiffel Tower, any other great monument here. You can literally use every great tower in history to your advantage and has content. Do you see how easy it is to just steal these things and make up worlds of your own? I mean, everything is set up on a silver platter in front of you, because now you know what things you need to do for your tone and genre and how to use them in accordance with the events you have chosen to steal. Now all that's left is to incorporate your characters into the world that you've created, aka stolen into existence. Anywho, goodbye for now and get to drawing. Now, in the video I might be saying a lot of stuff about how there are no original ideas, and even if you think something is original, it's probably stolen or is a mashed up version of a lot of other things, right? But I truly believe that there are still people who can make original stuff, and there are people making original stuff. And kudos to those people, because those people are really making an effort to do something new. But unfortunately, I'm not one of those people, so yeah, I'm going to still stick to my old ways and do what is guaranteed to make world building more easy for me, and that is to steal and mash things together and give it a twist of my own. Anywho, you're free to do whatever you want. I am simply giving an opinion here on how you can make things easier for yourself, so yeah, that is it. Goodbye for now.